is that all the police officers from Kabwata police station came out of the police station and they were watching. Sure. If you can see the video when I turned walking back to my vehicle, you can see all the police officers just watching. And one of the things that was extremely shocking to me and my team is that some of the cadres that came to attack us, they were coming from a police station. And the question that I still ask up to this very day, what were the UPND cadres doing at Kabwata police station? Because the person that was incarcerated was not their member, was not their president. But they were camped at Kabwata police station. In the aftermath of the attack, we got to learn that the gentleman in the jacket in that video is actually a former bodyguard to President Hakainde Hichilema when he was in the opposition. Sure. We also got to discover that he's very close to the minister in charge of the police, Minister of Internal Affairs, Honorable Jack Moy. Up to now, there has been no statement from the UPND to condemn the attack by their members on us. But you get to notice that the issue of political violence in our country is on the rise. In time past, we had cadres clad in military fatigue, capes, and all sorts of regalia, that when you see them, you can recognize them. The cadres we have in the New Dawn administration, they put on a jacket, they put on a shirt, just as those that attacked, so that they are not easily recognizable. We have seen the rise of political violence in Mukushi, in full view again of the police. The UPND cadres were able to attack their opponents in the opposition, whilst the police are watching. In Lusangazi, it was the same. We had the UPND attack their opponents, throwing stones to their opposition colleagues in full view of the police. In Kafue, now we have the UPND turning on themselves, perpetuating violence against UPND versus UPND. And I want to admonish the nation that violence has got no master. And I would like to send a timely warning to the UPND. Just because today they yield state power and control men and women who bear arms in our republic, they should not think that they've got the monopoly of violence. Every person being poked, every person whose rights are being infringed on has got the capacity to respond. Because as the saying goes, violence only begets more violence. Yeah. And we should never take our nation down that road. The UPND must quickly curb political violence. In the opposition, they sang the loudest about the violence that was being meted on them. They should not be the new masters of political violence. They should not be. We need to understand that the issues concerning political violence are not by law. It's about the attitude of the people that are ruling us. What you saw transpire at Kabwata is the attitude of the UPND against their political opponents. Had we not stood up for ourselves, that violence would have continued to every police station that we go to visit our colleagues. The other issue that I want to handle is the issue of the rule of law in our country. We have seen a direct assault by the ruling party as far as the rule of law is concerned. We have seen now even state institutions following now suit. You had the Electoral Commission of Zambia announce the new dates for by-elections in the country when there was a court order in place. We saw the Republican president going into the two constituencies where the by-elections were supposed to take place, and yet the court order was in place. Whether the president knew that there was going to be a judgment just 2 hours before the close of elections, it should have only appeared in the constituencies 2 hours before the close of the elections. But because there was prejudice in these things, we saw the highest office in the land breaking the rule of law. And the question that I want to ask the Zambian people is that if the custodian of the constitution that we have in the country, the #1 citizen of the country who has sworn to protect the constitution, is in the fore of breaking the law, who will keep the law then in Zambia? That's a question that I ask the Zambian people. If the #1 citizen of our country is in the fore of disregarding court orders, then who will keep the court orders in the Republic of Zambia? We need to introspect as a country on where we are and where we are going. I've often said this, and I want to say it once again. The success of the UPND lies in the correct interpretation of the vote last year, where they emerged victorious. Was it a vote of political violence that the people of Zambia pronounced themselves to? That today we can be treated to political violence left, right, and center? Was it political violence that the Zambian people voted for? Was it the breakdown of the rule of law that the Zambian people voted for when they ushered in the UPND with an overwhelming majority? Are these things the ones that the Zambian people pronounced themselves to? The Zambian people must not forget. They should go back and talk to themselves. Is this the change that the Zambian people voted for? Is this the change that we are currently witnessing? Up to now, we've never had a statement from the UPND on what transpired at Kabwata. They are quiet. I ask again the Zambian people, does it mean that the violence of the UPND is sacred? Because nobody talks about the violence in UPND when it is perpetuated by them. Yeah. I asked a question in the aftermath of my attack. You media colleagues, if it was me who pushed that man, maybe he hurt himself, which I can do very easily. I can do that very easily. There was nothing there, really. I was just managing the situation. No. If I pushed him or maybe he hurt himself, colleagues are asking, what could have happened to me? I would have been at Mukoveko. They even threw away the kids. I said, let him rot there. We may laugh at them today, but we don't know what could have transpired that day if we never stood up for ourselves. And I want to say this to the Zambian people. The Zambian people should not be intimidated. This violence being perpetuated by the ruling party needs to be stopped. Yes. And you, the Zambian people, have got the power to stop it. We need to stop it together before it goes further than the way it is right now. Colleagues, I thank you.